Hello, this is Timothy McGugan, and this is my critique for Module 3, Quiz 1. First question is, how did the assessment align with the guidelines and suggestions that were discussed about selected response assessment? Well, first off, I thought this test was well aligned with the guidelines as it went with selected response assessments. Uh, this is a pretty large class. I believe it's about 25 or so students in the class. So this is a great tool to use when you have a large class. It helps determine the level of knowledge and reasoning, how much the class knows. And also, with this being a summer course, we do have a limited time, and the grading and how fast you're able to get response and get the information is it's very fast with this type of assessment. So I think it was more than appropriate to use that for quiz one. I want to go through some of the steps, not all of them, but some of the steps that go along with creating this type of assessment and kind of show how this test aligned with that. The first step was determining the assessment purpose. Now, this test clearly provided students with the opportunity to self-assess and set goals for future assessments or future tests. I definitely was able to do that. Uh, Being able to see my score immediately and go through the questions that I got incorrect, the ones I did get correct, I was able to see exactly what I need to do going forward in order to make sure I'm successful. This test also provided the instructor with information on our level of mastery or our level of achievement, and also gives the instructor the opportunity to give feedback to the students or to all of us on our progress on how we're going so far. So this definitely was appropriate step for this test. Next is specifying the intended learning targets. Um, the learning targets were definitely clearly given to us in the syllabus. They were given to us prior to going through the lessons and prior to taking the test. So uh, definitely we had no misunderstanding, and we could clearly see how these questions came directly from those learning targets. And again, it was a test of our knowledge and our reasoning, and it definitely did just that. So I thought that was great. Uh, Next, step three is selecting the appropriate assessment method. Um, this test effectively assessed the knowledge and reasoning targets. And I say that because the test was a full multiple choice test. So it's definitely was geared the simpler questions that were kind of just asking for us to identify or explain. That was definitely feeding right into the knowledge portion. The reasoning targets were more of the scenario basis where we had to use what we learned in the course in order to answer the questions appropriately, um, against the scenario. Now, here is one thing I would have changed a bit in the test. I would have changed a couple of the questions to a written response because some of the questions were, I felt that they had more than one right answer. So if I had the opportunity to give a written response, I could explain or support the reason why I answered the question a certain way. Um, it, this type of test is kind of unforgiving that if you get it wrong, and even with any supporting documentation, the professor or the instructor may not know why you thought that way or what your line of thinking was. So that information could definitely go help you when you decide to reteach or go back over information. So that may be one thing. Adding the written response is one thing I may have added to my assessment. Step four, determining the appropriate sample size. This assessment covered three chapters and many, if not all, of the learning targets that were set before us. So, considering all of that information, I thought that 20 questions, this test was 20 multiple choice questions, I thought was a little low. I may have increased that number just a bit, just to focus in more on uh, to understand that the mastery of the knowledge and the achievement of all the students to make sure that it is where it needs to be, or if an instructor needed to reteach anything, I would definitely add just some more information, especially since these type of tests are pretty easy to grade and quick to get information from. I would probably add more questions just to make sure I have an accurate test. Next up, I'm going to go through a few of the test questions that I had difficulties with and kind of go through maybe some of the changes that I would have had with those. First being question 2, and it reads, which of the following is a consideration when establishing the validity of test results? Now, I answered A, and A is the test results can be used to communicate to students about their achievement. Uh, we had B, the test is free from other factors that may distort results. C, the test produces the same results each time it is administered. And D, the correct answer, the test is an accurate representation of the construct to be measured. So D, I definitely knew D is almost a definition of validity, that you want to make sure that you have an accurate representation. I think where I got confused here a bit was with the achievement portion. I know in the book it spoke to, in the chapter or in the paragraphs about validity, it spoke about achievement, meaning like when the example they gave, when a person was weighing themselves on multiple days, and if the goal was achievement, then the validity of the test would show there. So I think I got a little bit confused there. So being a little more clear would have helped me choose the right answer. So I would probably reword question A and be more specific about achievement, just so there is no question or no uh, thoughts of anything else. I also added here a couple of the learning targets from the syllabus uh, that this question or this test actually covers. The next example I want to go through was question 15. It says the statement, tell a story or recount an experience with appropriate facts and relevant descriptive details, speaking audibly in coherent sentences is of which type of learning? Uh, so we had reasoning, product, knowledge, and performance skill. Now this one I picked knowledge, and as you see, it was incorrect. The more correct answer is performance skill. Now, this one for me, I definitely would have made some changes to. I would more than likely provide an option where knowledge and performance could be used because in order to do the performance skill, you definitely need knowledge. You couldn't do one without the other. So I would give an option where you could add knowledge and performance skill or take knowledge out of the equation altogether so that the student could easily or could definitely see that the instructor is looking for performance skill in that scenario. Lastly, the last question I wanted to go through was question 19, and it reads, Mr. Carpenter knows that he should share the learning targets with students, but he is concerned that it will have a negative impact on the effectiveness of his discovery learning lessons. How might you address his concern? And let's see, A was when you share the learning target, when you share the learning target, depends on the type of target you are teaching. That won't be a problem for most learning targets. You can wait to share the learning target until students write exit slips at the end of the lesson to reflect on what they learned from the lesson. The next one is it's okay to hold off on sharing the learning target during initial activities as long as you share it before students have to practice on their own. And then you can begin the lesson by phrasing the learning target as a question that students should be able to answer at the end of the lesson. So I picked the last one, and that was incorrect. I was kind of more so thinking about how we can make the learning targets student friendly and say it in a manner just to, phrase it in a way they can understand. And I kind of thought, and especially with me working with middle school students, that phrasing it in a question would not take away from the discovery, and more so would help them focus more, in my opinion. So that definitely clouded my judgment there because I totally understand how holding off until they get to that section before uh, telling them the learning targets is quite okay as well. So, um, in my opinion, that this question it could have had more than one right answer depending on how you looked at it. So I would adjust the wording in this question, and also I felt that the question itself was quite wordy and a lot to read, so it could have been more concise and this will definitely hone in on what we wanted to get from the student. But all in all, I felt that the quiz was a fair test. I understand more now the reason why you presented the test the way you did, Dr. Watkins. Um, I've never had to go back and critique a test before in this manner, so I definitely learned a lot throughout this process. It helps me see what I need to do before administering a test to students, make sure that I have covered all the bases and make sure that um, what I'm trying to measure is definitely what the questions are going to show me at the end of the test. So thank you for that, and I look forward to learning more. Thank you.